at Bahrain International. Let's go out there racing.
Great start from Otmir. The McLaren drivers may try some sort of double overtake on Otmir.
Here's the moment. Otmir over the road. The McLaren's fighting through here.
Lucas Blakely leads heading into Tamburello. We've got a three-way fight as they now head into Villeneuve chicane.
Absolute skirmish out front.
Rodnar, you'd have to imagine, is going to try something, but Freddie Rasmussen is nailing these corners half a second. That's a lovely buffer.
Can Ron Hart force him wide? He shows him over the curb. Brilliant racing between the two of them. Has Rasmussen played it to perfection? Yes, it's going to be so tight. For the first time in F1 Esports, it's Barry Barman who is the winner. We are now heading into a crucial DRS zone. He's getting past the McLaren. 1 corner to go to take the victory. Rasmussen up against Ron Hart, and he barges into...
That is a slam dunk penalty.
Tries the swap, tries the dummy. Bold, brilliant. It's gone absolutely wild. Yellow up there takes the lead. The finest 3 races in F1 Esports history come to a close. Yes, that really did just happen.
Welcome along to the F1 Esports Series Pro Championship 2022. It is the penultimate round of the year. Mathematically, we've still got 5 drivers left in the title hunt. And this is the kind of reception I wanted yesterday. There was nothing yesterday, and there's too much today. Welcome, everybody. We've got one less guest on the sofa. We've lost Nick Hamilton, but we've still got Hayden Gullis, Tom Deacon and George Morgan. Hayden, how you doing?
I'm good. I've got the whole sofa to myself, not crammed in like these two over here. So
wow,
good day.
Yeah.
Wow. Literally the free-range pundit today. Just did a cheaper option, and that's fine.
Tom Deacon, you're never cheap, my friend.
Thanks, mate.
Did you enjoy the action yesterday?
What a start. I did enjoy the action yesterday. I enjoyed it so much I've worn a Japan jumper.
Thought you would have worn it yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't clean yesterday. Obviously the house and obviously the heating crisis and all of that. I just wasn't able to get it dry in time. But the point is, fantastic race, had a bit of everything and a lot of talking points.
A lot of talking points. I love that. And George Morgan once again back on the sofa. A lot to digest from yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you take from it?
Well, he ate at the buffet.
Yeah, still digesting it now. Yeah, no, it was incredible. I mean, you can sort of sift through it. It's like a Tolkien storybook, really, at this point, the amount that happened in that race at Suzuka.
That is a reference I was not expecting to hear.
I was bringing up my inner Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Talk about Frodo going to Mordor. Yeah, no, it was incredible. Obviously, Jake Benham was very much the story as well, and we saw Ron Ha in his efforts to try and close up on Nicolas Longuet. He was hindered not once but twice in his efforts doing that, but it was Longuet who achieved it on the day. It
was Longuet who, for the first time, has managed to get on the top step of the podium this year. Would you say that it was maybe a little bit late in the season for someone like him who has such potential and is great at qualifying especially?
Potentially looking at the qualifying record that he does have, he was, I think Monza sticks out as one that was potentially there for the race win, but they worked very well together as a team to get a lot of points for each other, which of course is a team's championship, so that's what they were going to be focused on. But for him, he's going to be very happy now just to have that under and, can just go on for the rest of the season and enjoy it, really.
Well, let's reflect on his race, shall we? Nicolas Longuet back on the top step of the podium, and it was maybe a long time coming. Of course, Monza was a pole position for him, which he didn't manage to convert, but he managed to get the jump on Thomas Ronhaar at the start. Of course, going on those medium tyres, he said after the race that he just wanted to stay clear of the title fight, and by doing that, he actually won the race. Clearly didn't have as much race pace as Thomas Ronhaar when you look at it overall, without the likes of Jake Benham getting in the way, which of course we'll talk a little bit more about. But Longuet, he stayed out of trouble. I know some people say online, he only won because Benham did all of their antics, but that was a tactic in itself to just clear off, just focus on the race time, and it worked for him.
It did, and it broke the hoodoo as well for him because, generally he hasn't had a lot of luck from pole position in recent years. So to achieve that at a very tricky circuit like Suzuka is brilliant, I think, for him, and a huge confidence booster. I mean, he's not in the championship fight, but at the same time, they're fighting for their seats for next season too. So, Longuet, he's proven time and time again, he is worthy to be up there with the best of them. And moments of magic like that just go to show what a true talent he really is.
Did you say hoodoo?
Hoodoo.
Oh, OK. I thought you were doing a sort of Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones.
I love how it's gone all...
Yeah.
I love that.
Wow. Let's focus on Ronhaar, shall we? Who didn't manage to get the victory, but he managed to close in on Lucas Blakely in the Drivers' Championship. Yes. F1 Esports, this is what this is. But Ronhaar, there you go past Danny Berezne. But this is where he lost a lot of time. Benham on very old hard tyres, doesn't have as much grip, and is essentially being a mobile chicane. But he was very much within the limits, very much on the line of what was probably allowed. But you could see how late he was braking to that last chicane with very little grip, sliding that Mercedes just to try and get it stopped. But it worked beautifully, and of course we will reflect on Otmir in a little bit, but that in itself was where Ronhaar lost the race.
Yeah, definitely. He had the pace throughout the whole day. Qualifying was so strong for him. Q1, Q2, Q3, he just dominated it. And then the race, it looked like it was going to go his way. Obviously, the strategy was a little bit different between Longuet and Ronhaar, but he had the tyres at the end that if there wasn't the situation of Jake Benham in there, he would have caught him. Would he have been able to overtake him? That's up to the drivers to sort out, but he had a strong strategy.
That's why it's just so exciting to watch Thomas Ronhaar, because we're having to have drivers and teams come up with tactics to deal with his pace. And I mean, I think it was the first turn when Longuet got the overtake on him, and you're thinking, if he could just replay that, if Thomas Ronhaar could just replay Bahrain, these moments might come back to haunt him a little bit, but he's just been lights out phenomenal.
And his reaction, I think, on social media as well was very measured. He was like, look, P2 could have won, but, we move on to Brazil now. It was very calm and composed for a rookie. You could have easily gone on Twitter and let the world know what you think.
Well, he could have easily berated, I think, obviously, with Benham and the whole scenario of that. We've seen drivers flare up in the past over things like that. Again, we refer to Mexico. But, it's, these things happen. But, with Benham, it was a very much you shall not pass type moment. Again, not in the Tolkien
Good
phrase.
Lord.
Yeah.
Really need to move on from this. It's stuck in though, isn't it? It really is.
I could that out. It's been grinding my gears all
Someone's read the book and is like, that's it. I've made that sort of commitment. I will be using all these phrases. But yeah, he
Sorry.
What did Jake Benham do that was that wrong? Was it in the spirit of racing?
I think it's more the conversation around the spirit of racing and you know what they were trying to do. But at the end of the day, I don't think they broke any rules. There was no penalties given out. But we move on now to our next driver, who was Freddie Rasmussen, who wasn't spoken about as much in this particular race. It was a quiet, composed race from him. Scored some decent points. Gained on Lucas Blakely in the championship. But didn't ever really look like he could challenge Ronha.
I think that's just typical Freddie Rasmussen. Unless he's ramming drivers off the track, we don't really talk about him. It's usually calm, clean and consistent.
Tell us how you really feel,
But yeah, a great drive from Freddie today, and he did what he needed to do. He gained on Lucas Blakely in the championship, and if he can do that over the last two races, he is firmly in this title fight.
He certainly is. Lucas Blakely is very much a man that is trying to defend and just hold on in this title fight. But as we'll see very shortly in the drivers' standings, there's not a lot more defending to do. It's got to be attack now. He's got to beat... Oh, look at that. Beautiful segue. Blakely only 5 points ahead of Ronha now. You've got Freddie Rasmussen 14 behind Blakely. You've got Barry Burman still in the fight as well, a couple further back. Jarno Opmeer still mathematically in with a shot, but needs some craziness to go off at Brazil and Abu Dhabi, the last two races of the season. But Blakely has to now beat Ronha in these next two races, realistically. Maybe just one, if he wants to win and then Ronha, they swap, whatever. But realistically, he has to get on Ronha's level, and it hasn't seemed like he's been able to do that maybe since Sandvort.
Yeah, well, to me, it's the hunter becomes the hunted now at this point. You know, he's led right through the season, but his strongest form was at the very start of the season, Lucas Blakely, and now he's pretty much a target now for Thomas Ronha to try and attack, and that's something I think we've seen in recent events.
Certainly will, and you would have seen as well, there was the team's championship. The McLaren Shadow team have confirmed and won the title. Now, we head over, because it's the final week, we've got some special things lined up. Ariana is there at McLaren. I'm not seeing any party balloons. Of course, they've just wrapped up the team's championship. What's the feeling over there?
Hello, guys. Well, first of all, I've missed you so much, of course. Wasn't here for round 3, but had to come back for the grand finale and had to come back with a bang. Like you said, Matt, Constructors' Championships, the atmosphere here is good. People are happy, obviously very relieved as a team to have wrapped up and secured the title, but Drivers' Championship is still to play for, with both drivers still in the mix as well. So it's not done yet.
And that's a big talking point for us, of course, that being wrapped up fine, but you've got Barry and Lucas both fighting for that driver's title. Do you sense there's going to be a bit of, you go through, no, you go have the title, or is it going to get a little bit more serious? Something that we don't tend to see in F1 Esports. It's usually a team game, but that's wrapped up now. It's now egos.
I don't think we're going to see one of them gifting it to the other. They're both racers at heart, right? That's what this comes down to. I think they're going to be going out there, racing their own races, and whoever is the better driver over the next couple of days will take home that title if it is to come to McLaren. Of course, there are other drivers in the mix as well. So will I be a good luck charm here? I don't know. Let's see.
Thank you very much, Ariana. We'll check in with you a little bit later on. And that's not the only person we've got at F1 HQ. We've also got Steph at Mercedes. Very Christmassy over there, Steph. How are things?
Things are good over here. Do you know what? I might just have to challenge Ariana to a Christmas off here because we've got good vibes behind me. It's fantastically decorated. But after yesterday, the mood is a little bit somber, but both drivers focused and ready for qualifying ahead.
Yeah, I don't see any Christmas trees at McLaren, so I think you have won that battle, Steph. But as you say, a little bit sombre. Of course, Jarno was trying to make something happen after a disappointing qualifying. It didn't work out. How do you assess the ambience over there?
Well, look, things are a little bit tense. Obviously, going into the final event of the season, you want everything to go your way, and unfortunately, it didn't go Mercedes' way yesterday. But, you know, there were some great moments that you could pull from it. Jarno did drive fantastically up until the incident, and Jake Benham as well with that defensive driving. So, you know, both drivers are absolutely on it and focused ahead of Brazil today.
Amazing stuff. Well, thank you very much, Steph. We'll check in with you as well a little bit later on. And fingers crossed you'll be a good luck charm for them as they try and catch the rest of the field in the Drivers' Championship. A lot of points still to play for, 50, and a couple of fastest lap points. But Jarno Opmeer needs a miracle. He needs 2 China wet races with all of his championship rivals having a bit of a mare.
Well, he did it. He said on Twitter yesterday that he has done it before, where he has caught up 34 points in 2 races. Remember back to, it was in Mexico and USA. So he has done it before. It is a big task to do it twice. I mean, it's a miracle in F1 Esports to catch up on your championship rivals like that. But you know, we've seen crazier things this season. It could happen.
I like that.
He's not giving up, though. That's the thing that I took from that tweet yesterday, is he said, I'm going to keep pushing. And that's daunting for any of those drivers who are fighting for it, because it's still mathematically possible.
Well, he's got to push for the drivers' title, potentially, and also to help Mercedes try and secure second in the Teams' Championship, where a lot of money is still up for grabs. Now, let's take a look at Jarno Opmeer's race and how it unfolded at Suzuka. It was all pretty much lost, wasn't it, in qualifying, being knocked out in Q1. He was then trying some audacious strategy, going really long on the hard tyres to then go on the attack at the end on massively fresh medium tyres, using Jake Benham to slow down the pack. You have your own thoughts, I'm sure, on that particular tactic, but it worked. He was on the back of a pack that could have easily managed him 6th position. Van Erven was at the front of that train. Unfortunately for him, though, there was the contact with Donoso. A lot of social media chatter about, Donoso closed the door and whatnot, and I kind of want to talk about that incident, because for me, yeah, OK, maybe there was some contact. Opmeer just about managed to squeeze onto the inside and maybe halfway alongside. But this is turn 2 at Suzuka. An overtaking place?
Not particularly, unless you've set yourself up well. He does have his front nose up the inside, so from a driving perspective, you're going to be wanted to give room at this point. You're going to be expecting it, but because you're not completely alongside, his front wheel is still not alongside the front wheel of the Ferrari car. As they get to the apex of the corner, the Ferrari doesn't have to give him as much room. He doesn't have to give him a full car's width, maybe half a car's width through the corner, which he does give the opportunity for Jarno to back out of that. But Jarno, you know, he's going for this Drivers' Championship. He's not really going to back out. You can't expect it. Unfortunately, just 2 didn't go into 1.
And obviously the stewards would have looked at that, and there was no penalties handed out, so clearly they felt the same sort of way, and the fact that it was a racing incident and Opmeer's risked something, tried to make it happen. We don't blame him at all for that. He had to go for it. But that was not really the big moment. The big moment was qualifying.
Yeah, I think there was an almighty shock. I think even amongst us as pundits, and as that with him being knocked out of Q1. Big shame as well for him, because obviously he is in the fight for this championship, and we know how good he is, 2-time world champion. But at the end of the day, if you leave your strategy late with only a certain number of laps to go, fresh tyres, your immediate instinct is to just try and drive fast. And I think it maybe just got a little bit to his head and maybe made what could be considered an overzealous overtake.
But the qualifying for Jarno has really been a struggling point for him this year. Car handling has not been where he's wanted it to be all year. So, you know, now after yesterday and that incident with Fab Donoso, which I think he had to go for it, he had to push, means that's 3 no scores, and that is not a championship winning amount there.
We speak about regulations as well with the cars, because the change from last year to this year, new car shape, new sort of designs, the models of the car, vastly different. So it might be the case, like we said, I think, earlier on in the season, he might not necessarily be used to that.
Yes, a new game, new handling, a lot to adjust to. Right, let's go to the social media roundup, shall we? As we look over my shoulder. Mary, seriously, it has all just kicked off, and it's all from Jake Benham parking the bus. This is brilliant watching, but I'd love to be a fly on the wall after the race when the drivers have a catch-up. So would I, Mary. We want more from Mary. Jarno Fabrizio, 2 into 1, doesn't go. Well, that's her opinion on the incident. We've got a couple more tweets, I think, coming your way as well. Alex, is there anyone who can add me to the esports chat? I got some popcorn with me. Would be interesting to see what they say. All that being said, GG's to all drivers. Hard-fought race, certainly eventful. Yeah, you cannot dispute that. And then finally, Lewis, Jake Benham with the best piece of defending and teamwork that I've seen since the World Cup has started. So a lot of talk about that, because I think we would have just got a bog-standard fight for the win at the end had we not had Benham thrown into the equation, which would have been exciting in itself, but instead we had cars all over the place.
It kept us busy, Matt. I think. I think we were sweating up at the commentary box with half of what was going on. But yeah, it was amazing. And I think it did offer us a lot of entertainment. And I think it's great for the spectators at home as well, who obviously weighed in with their opinion as well on
Absolutely. And you can get involved with your opinion in the Twitch chat or hashtag F1 Esports on Twitter. You can send in all your opinions and what that. And also, quali format. Let's roll that in for you. And just in case you're not familiar with how qualifying rolls, Q1, Q2, Q3, 18 minutes, 15 minutes and 12-minute session. And if you are Jana Watme, you want to be making it through to Q3 today, that is for sure. And that is the 2021 qualification with Nicholas Longuet. Can he make it back-to-back victories? We'll have to wait and see. Marcel Kiefer will want to get some run of form as well here. He was second last year. Freddie Rasmussen managed to win from 10th on the grid, but there were some shenanigans then as well. So we have a lot to look forward to because we do head to Brazil, Interlagos. My favourite track, my favourite race weekend. We saw in real-life Formula One this year. It was easily the best race weekend of the year. It had the sprint race as well. Chaos. But also, it always seems to deliver in F1 Esports. And have I jinxed it, Hayden Gullis, or are we in for a good one again?
No, we're in for a good race. It's just a beautiful racetrack. It's just designed so well. There's so many opportunities for overtaking down to turn 1, turn 4, but then also flowing into the midsection. It presents wheel-to-wheel racing, which is what we love to see. And it also provides different setups. You go for straight line speed, go attacking, go aggressive, but you'll be a little bit more compromised in that midsection, or you go the other way, be good in the corners, but maybe a sitting duck on the straight.
And what makes it great for everyone watching this quali show is that it's a short track, which means it's going to be a very close qualifying, which means also if you're a championship contender, there's even more pressure on you because the smallest mistake around here is basically, you know, that's your lap done and you may well not make it out of Q1 again. So is that going to be playing on the likes of Otmir's mind?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's so many areas on this track which can throw a curveball. I would say every sector has its own unique positives and negatives as far as the driver's strategic mindset goes. I mean, if you look at the first sector, you've got far more straights. The second sector, more technical. It gets very congested as well. And then the third sector, risk of oversteer around Junchao and corners such as that. So, and you tend to find a lot of late breakers through that point. All these things are going to be playing on these drivers' minds, I think, at this point.
At the middle sector, a lot of time could be lost easily there. I was reading what Shanaka Clay, he's back in. I don't want to give too much away, but he's back in today. I've just jumped ahead. But he's back
we were about to go into the driver lineup, so why don't we show that and then you can talk about it. OK, right. Driver lineup time. It's going to come up behind us right now. So, and continue your point, but then we'll just roll that in. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, that's perfect segue. He's not on the screen yet, so
he's on the second page. Let's talk about the first page.
John Evans. In for Aston Martin.
You were having a good old chat with him.
We had a chat with John Evans yesterday. He's confident coming into this one. He wants me to tip him for pole. So we'll
but
see.
you won't. You'll be going for Ronhard.
I'll be going for Ronhard, I think.
Deacon, second page. Go on.
Yeah, Shanaka Clay in for Daniele Handada. Unfortunately for him, he does normally produce. He's got his only podium at Suzuka. Yesterday did not finish the race situation. But Shanaka Clay said it would be quite interesting. He said there's always added drama at the end of a season at Interlagos. Would it be a much more different track if we had it at the beginning of the season? Would there be that chaos that we expect today?
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Yeah. No, I would happily have Brazil 12 races the entire season. Just Brazil. Brazil. Just every single race. It always delivers.
Very good to see that. I don't know about you guys, but Josh Ido back in again. He's 7th in the Drivers' Championship and has basically missed out on 4, I think, if not 3 races. 47 points. Above him is Nicholas Longuet with 82. So this could have been a Josh Ido championship. Maybe not.
I think it's called Set Show. That would have rhymed. Would have been quite nice.
Yeah, it should have done, actually.
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow.
You're a comedian. You use it in the main show later. Love it. But yeah, good to see Josh Ido back. And quali has begun, as you can see on the screens right now. But don't worry, we're not going to have anything exciting for the next 5 minutes, really, are we? The Intermediate Tyre Championship still has not been signed off, which is a shame. We've got one driver out, and that is Patrick Schipos, who was so impressive yesterday in qualifying. In this show yesterday, we were commending him. Beautiful. 3rd place on the grid. And then he got what I have not seen probably this entire season, too good of a start and just drove into the back of Ron Hart, it would have been.
Yeah, it was a pretty ugly start for Patrick Sheepos, and I've got to apologise to him as well, because I've commentated on him for years, and I've always called him Seapos. Well, I've been told that that's not right. So, yeah. Sheepos
okay.
is the name.
If you say Seapos, I will just have to shout at you in commentary.
Personally, you can slap it. You can slap me if you want, no problem. Yeah, it's fine. No, it is Patrick Sheepos, absolutely. And he was so unlucky. I mean, Ron Hart, I don't think got the best of starts, and unfortunately, I think Sheepos got too good of a start.
He did indeed.
Yeah.
Now, I did say that there's not a lot interesting in the first 5 minutes of Q1. I tell a lie. We've got Ariana with Wilson Hughes, I believe, who can give us some insight, Ariana, to what's going down at McLaren Shadow.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Matt. When I heard you say that, I was thinking, I'm definitely about to do a little interview here. How rude. But it's okay. I forgive you. I am joined by Wilson. Wilson, how are you doing, first of all?
Yeah, I'm doing great. You know, final 2 races of the season, feeling really good.
And the team have secured the Constructors' Championship, as we've already said on the show. Must mean so much to you. Talk to us about how the team are feeling today, now that it's sunk in a little bit.
Yeah, we're feeling great. Obviously couldn't party too hard last night because we've got 2 races coming up. Team's feeling really good, a little bit more relaxed because it's wrapped up, and now we're just going to let the drivers get onto it.
Will we be partying tomorrow?
Hopefully we will be partying tomorrow.
Good, because we're still around, so that's what we have in our calendars. That's fantastic. As you said, Constructors is wrapped up, but drivers, you're going to just let them get on with it now. But how have the team regrouped, refocused, so that the drivers are in the best position for these next 2 races? Because there's lots to play for still. Yeah,
obviously. So the team Constructors is wrapped up, which kind of relaxes a little bit. This morning we kind of had to, get back into realisation that there's still 2 races to go. So the 2 drivers, they're still in full race mode. The team's a bit relaxed, as I said. But yeah, we're just trying to refocus, regroup, and get back into race mode.
Now, as Matt has said, and some of the guys there, Interlagos, one of the best tracks that we have on the calendar, always delivers entertaining racing. But how are you feeling for qualifying, and what is the approach that the team are taking for both drivers?
Well, qualifying, it's extremely important. I mean, Interlagos, as we saw last year, it was chaos pretty much. So we're just trying to, make sure we get in the front row, ideally. But as high up as the grid as we can be is always good. But if not, we just see where it takes us, and we'll always be ready for the race. Right, we're going to let Wilson go. Thank you so much for joining us. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Ariana. Now, I know you're probably wondering, where has qualifying gone? Well, there's a reset happening, so we will be back with qualifying very shortly. We've not just decided to take you away from it, don't worry. So, yeah, good to hear from Wilson Hughes there. I think the question, hopefully if we go back to them a little bit later, that I would have had is that, how do McLaren Shadow avoid the shenanigans of other teams like Jake Benham did in Suzuka? How do you plan around that? Is it the likes of a Longue strategy where you just go fast at the start and then you hope you're not held up at some point during the race?
I think the bigger question, in all fairness, is how do they sort themselves out now? Because there's 2 drivers who have the potential to fight for the championship. What do the team do? Because there's 2 different strategies that teams can go for. Either you start on the mediums or you start on the hards. And typically, it looks like if you start on the hard tyres first, pitting for the mediums later, that seems to be the better strategy that we've seen over the majority of the season. So to do split strategies between the 2, you're favouring one driver, which they don't want to do. So maybe it's just going to be a case of, I mean, these guys play this game so much. They know the strategies as well. Always helpful to have somebody doing that whilst you're driving. But it might just be up to the drivers to be like, OK, I want to pit now, or I want to do this. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work together, but also go against each other.
Because you say, the hard to the mediums definitely is the quickest race time in terms of if you had no one else on the track, if it was time trial. But as we saw yesterday, Nicolas Longue went the opposite way, avoided all the chaos, and he had the fastest race time because there was things going on behind. So I guess that then opens up the conversation there where, for both the McLaren Shadow drivers, do you split the strategies and make sure at least one of them is going to maybe avoid that chaos?
Well, that's the problem, because then who's taking that strategy when you've got 2 drivers vying for their Drivers' Championship? Well, what's interesting, I don't think you can plan for it. I think you have to just adapt mid-race as best you can, because you can't. No one knew Jake was going to park the bus, as good old Mary said in her tweet. He parked the bus. I don't think he parked the bus per se, but he definitely slowed down a fair bit. So I think you just have to go with it, stick with that strategy that you think is going to be the best, and adapt if needed. But then who becomes driver 1, who becomes driver 2 in that situation? Because you're going to upset one of the McLaren drivers.
But I guess then you question, adapting on the fly is probably what Ron Hart and everyone behind had to do with Benham in front, whereas I suppose Longue has had that that plan in place from the get-go, and that's what's worked, is having that set, fast, quick start strategy, which then made him avoid everything that happened in Suzuka. So how do you see it, George?
Well, I think that's why qualifying was so important, and you know, Longuet, he pounced on it straight away, and his mindset was clear. I think also the actual start of the race, as we said, leading into turn one, was so imperative to his strategy, and he remained there. He gapped him very quickly, and you know, eventually it was a case that Rasmussen was more of a danger to Ron Haar than what Longuet was, really. So it was a very interesting start to that Grand Prix.
Right, whilst we wait, let's play a game. What is Luke Smith listening to? I haven't seen this. Wow.
I'm getting some Pink Floyd vibes.
Okay. I'm going with a little bit of All I Want for Christmas Is You.
No, I think that's the Lord of the Rings audio book. I believe that's...
The show is not sponsored by the way.
Should be. Cracking read. Fantastic. Yeah.
Great. So what do we reckon?
I think he's actually listening to George Morgan's album, which we saw the cover for yesterday.
You did, actually.
So.
Yeah, that was...
I haven't even heard that album yet.
That's weird that you have. You just hear George Morgan's voice. That's what it is.
All the time.
But of course, you know, Interlagos, of course, we are in a reset right now. That's why, if you're just tuning in, we haven't got any qualifying for you right now, but it will be with you very shortly.
But will it though?
I should hope so.
Well, my fingers are like this.
What do you mean?
Do I get double? I mean, that's bad luck.
Well, we're
isn't
not
it?
here saying hopefully we're going to have some action.
Well, I'm hopefully we're going to have some action.
Tom, you got to be positive.
I've got to be positive.
It's
Well,
fine.
it's difficult. Hey, we didn't talk about it yesterday. I know we want to gear up for Interlagos. Brendan Lee at one point was last. He was last in the grid and came back to get points and finished P6 eventually.
It's a good race for Ferrari, actually.
Yeah, great race.
Yeah.
So no wonder Fab Donoso was like, oh, you could let Jarno through. No. Just all about self-preservation. But Brendan Lee, a fantastic race. We just haven't mentioned him. I thought we could deal with that.
I appreciate that, because I was going to come to the notepad if we really were struggling for talking points.
No one's ever struggling. You've got to be positive, Matt. Don't be negative.
I guess if you're going to put yourself in the perspective of the driver, though, we're speaking about Ferrari. Donoso had a much better qualifying than what Lee had. But at one point, Lee was let through, I think, past Donoso. What does that do to a driver's mentality when you are that teammate, knowing full well that your teammate's starting a lot further back? There's the expectation, at least from a driver's perspective, that I'm going to beat my teammate.
Yeah, I think the one benefit I think Ferrari have over McLaren is they're not in that championship fight, so they can afford to make those decisions, I think, to a degree. I think if they were in a situation like McLaren are, I think that's when the tension would probably be a little bit more fraught. But yeah, there we can see the Fabrizio Donoso, and it's amazing because these two. And I've been so impressed with the longevity of these two drivers, because they've been on the F1 Esports scene now since 2017, and in fact competed against each other for the first ever championship. And harking back to that, it was a sensational moment. But yeah, no, they're both great professionals, and I like to think that they would be able to handle those little instances fairly well.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether was he asleep then, or is he?
Well, it looks like he's back at home. That's not the Ferrari HQ, is he?
He's waiting for the album that Luke Smith's listening to download. That's what's going on.
So you can vibe to it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, and I know he's not racing today, but David Tinitza, it's one of those names that we just haven't mentioned enough, in my opinion. I remember being here, Gfinity Arena, he's up there,
2019, wasn't it?
And
Yes.
just like he was lights out, and we were talking about can this guy put a foot wrong in the same way that Thomas Ronhaar is doing this year, and yet sort of, I mean, I know he's very much part of the setup, and he'll be that almost like the NATO in between Brendan Lee and Fab Donoso, just to be able to make sure that they're gelling as a whole team. But just I wish he was here, kind of competing.
Just him in the studio.
David, if you're not busy, which I know you're not, come on down. But
when you actually look at their roster, right? I remember when Ferrari fielded Tinitza, Lee, and Donoso. You go, well, you've got a runner-up and you've got two world champions.
Yeah.
Surely that is going to at least produce a win in recent times, but it just hasn't happened. Now, I know, of course, Brendan Lee had his success at the start and very much, was on the top of his game then, when maybe some other drivers were still learning to develop, learning to get that mental game sorted as well. Is it more the case of everyone's caught up rather than Brendan's maybe gone off the boil slightly?
Yeah, I think it's a case of everyone's caught up, because we can just see, I mean, we're going to see it today, the grid's going to be so close together, and that's probably the main sticking point there. I think also Ferrari tend to go for established drivers, hence why we've got world champions and a runner-up, whereas some of the other teams are looking, you know, they're trying with their third driver. Let's bring in someone new who's a bit of a rookie, see what they're like, and if they don't stick, we've still got 2 very strong drivers who we can put in the car.
Lovely stuff. I've got some stuff to watch, I've just been told. Defending. So let's have a look at that. It's, in fact, Benham's defending. That's the one. I just heard defending in my ear. So there's Jake Benham. We're reflecting on how slowly he went through the S's. And Ron Hart, of course, nudging him around. Remember, this is simulation damage that they're running. So Ron Hart could have very easily lost an end plate with his over-exuberance to get past Benham. I'm sure there was a slight bit of squeaky bum time there as he went into that corner there. Degnall won, but Ron Hart again making more contact here with Benham. Benham defending, and he knows he can just take his time through here because Suzuka's a very difficult place to overtake. And there you can see, he very much on a Sunday drive, Benham was, and it kind of shows that in the way his face was just like, yeah, I'm just going to park my car in the middle of the road.
I thought it was perfect defending from him. Some people might say it was a little bit dirty and there was a lot of tactics in play. Yes, OK, tactics were in play. There's a bad way to do that and a good way to do that, and I think he went the right way about it. You can maybe brake check the driver behind, push them wide. I think most notably when, we didn't see it there, but where they went through the chicane and Jake slid out of position, Ron Hart was on the outside. It's just so easy to be like, OK, he's on the outside, off the track you go, but he still left racing room to make sure he wouldn't be in trouble, but was doing the job for his teammates. So for me, I like what he did. You know, the driver behind is going to be frustrated, but it helps that it was Ron Hart who has got a championship to fight as well. So Ron Hart's not going to be overly aggressive, so there was no real major contact. It was the drivers actually further back from that who were all just trying to gain and maybe try and sniff out a point somewhere. They were all coming together, and that's where the chaos all happened.
I do wonder what Ron Hart's aggression would have been like had it not been Longuet winning the race, if it had been a Blakely or a Rasmussen. Do you foresee, George, maybe there being a slight change or difference in the way he went about that?
I can't imagine so. No. I think. I mean, I was quite impressed. I think with the way I think like Hayden said. I think with the way that race panned out for him, and I think Nick was right as well yesterday in what he said.
Nick's always right.
Nick is always right, and he stated that yesterday. Just the way he positioned the car, I think was just the difference maker, and he did what he needed to do. So, you know, I don't think you could really say he did anything severely wrong there.
No, just played the team game. Are we going to see some slow cars over the next 2 races? Well,
it's definitely opened the door, hasn't it? I mean, for teams to think, all right, well, if Mercedes are going to play that sort of game, then that's what we're going to do if the opportunity arises during the race. So I heard a fantastic quote yesterday from, I can't remember which one of it was actually, expect the unexpected.
Definitely George Morgan.
Yeah, definitely. So I think you have to. And so when you were talking about Nicolas Longuet and the other drivers, it all comes down to quali. Quali is the most important again. If you can get on that front row, like Wilson Hughes was talking to Arena Brava about, that is just going to really, really help the team. And if you're further back, yeah, someone is going to probably park the bus, and we're going to have all sorts of shenanigans.
Now, I am hearing in my ear that we are going to get qualifying underway very shortly, but whilst we wait for that to happen, we've got the picture back up again. And in fact, Expect the Unexpected could be the album name here, to be honest with you.
That's very good,
as
actually.
You would call it, well, it was the producer in my ear, to be fair. But, or you could call it the Oracle, because you were also calling yourself that as well yesterday.
That's because I was right.
I wouldn't... Saying Ron Hart was going to be on pole yesterday, does that make you an oracle, Hayden Gullis?
No, I think that's just the easy choice.
Yeah,
he just wants to be smug in the corner.
Upset.
Well, let's do predictions today.
Can I just tell you, right, I was the last one to make a prediction out of you lot. You could have easily said Ron Hart before I did.
No,
we don't want
too easy. You see his average qualifying position, and when it's in the 1 point something...
Excuse me for taking the initiative.
Well, let's move on to predictions for today then, shall we, when we do get qualifying underway, which it is coming, I promise. Let's start with you, George Morgan, as you went last yesterday. Who's on pole?
I'm gonna throw a curveball in.
Don't. Just stick with Ron Hart. Go on, you get first dibs.
Ron Hart Thomas. No, I'm going to go with Lucas Blakely, I think.
OK, you reckon he's going to bounce back?
Yeah, I think so.
Big moment for the championship if he does. Tom Deacon?
No. No. I'm just going to do a Fab Donoso for George Morgan's face. I think...
That's Brendan Lee, isn't it?
Can we just double check who you...
Yeah, well, Fab Donoso had that wagged in his face.
Yeah, but who did you predict yesterday?
It's not important who I predicted.
Marcel Kiefer,
I'm not
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Marcel Kiefer. Oh, what?
So,
oh, poor me.
On the level of dodgy predictions.
Well, for going for the underdog.
Before Tom says it, look, yes, qualifying's back, so you can all relax. Let us know, by the way, in the Twitch chat who you think's going to get pole position. And now, Tom Deacon, you can tell us yours.
OK, Nicholas Longa is on for a hat-trick of poles today at Interlagos. Why not? Nicholas Longa, I put some pressure on him.
I was going to back him, but you've taken him. Fair enough.
It's a good shout.
Hey,
I'm going to go against everything that he said, not going for the easy cop-out.
Yeah.
I'm going for bold, something crazy.
Thomas Ronner.
John Evans, why not?
I wonder why. I wonder why. Maybe I had a conversation with him yesterday and he wants me to back him for pole. OK, well, let's see how well John Evans does. And I am going to go with a very ludicrous prediction here, and I'm going to go with Thomas Ronha. Right, Q1 is underway. And we have some cars on track. They are on intermediates, however, so don't get too excited. We have a few drivers out on track. 4 of them, in fact, make that 5, as we see Brendan Lee out there on the intermediates as well. It is dry. Don't worry. It is not raining. It's just very much preparation, relax, make sure the equipment's working, all that good stuff. And then we will get into the business part very shortly. So Brendan Lee, we've reflected on him. David Tunitz is going to be maybe a little bit, would you say, concerned with the fact of how he hasn't been fielded as much as maybe we would expect a world champion to be fielded.
It's the problem when you have that star lineup of 3 incredible drivers, is that you are all fighting for that position. You look at someone like Red Bull, for example, you've got Rasmussen and Kiefer, they're the main 2. They're always going to be the main 2 there. And then you've got Liam Parnell as their 3rd driver, working behind the scenes, working on setups and stuff like that. And it's very nice and tidy over there. But Ferrari, chopping and changing, which is great because if one driver focuses on one circuit, the others focus on the other, you can maybe maximise that, but you lose momentum and maybe even motivation as well, so it might not be the right way to go.
It's an interesting situation for Ferrari because when David Tunitz won the driver's title, if my memory serves me correct, Ferrari didn't win the team's championship because they didn't have that second driver to back up and be on a consistent level with Tunitz. Now Ferrari, in my opinion, have 2 drivers that are on similar levels, but they're not good enough to be getting the absolute pinnacle of points that they'd be looking for. So if they do start looking around, because for me, I'm imagining the likes of Ronha is going to be snapped up by a bigger outfit potentially next year. No disrespect to Haas, but a bigger team in Formula One. That's where you think the likes of Ferrari maybe need to, get their wallet out and secure a driver like that, because having Ronha alongside a Brendan Lee or a Tunitz, that's a lineup that you think the team's championship could be up for grabs.
Yeah, I think if you're a team, you don't want to be wondering what could have been, I think, coming into a new season when you're looking at future drivers. And Thomas Ronha, I can imagine, like you say, Matt, he's going to be top of the list, I think, for every great team. We saw Mercedes plumb for Otmir when he took the championship with Alfa Romeo. And, it was just... We just knew it was something waiting to happen, as we're now seeing Donoso taking a very audacious line through Jinshow, using all of the track.
That will not be allowed when he's doing his actual lap, I can tell you that for free.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about his team and who they're going to sign, and it's had an immediate effect on his driving.
I think you just shocked him there, Matt, to be honest.
Peter Stachelic, the Polish young driver, part of the exhibition series, he is stepping in for Matthias Van Erwen, that's it. Matthias Van Erwen, that is him done for the 2022 season.
And he had a very strong Suzuka, didn't he?
Very strong.
But that's clearly, the team methodology behind that is you focus on that, and it worked. It worked beautifully.
Yeah, he did a good job. He got the points for them, but this is something that could be quite interesting, is do they look at what Jake did and now use Stachelic to maybe do something similar to help out Ronha? The one team that's going to struggle with this is McLaren, because they have 2 drivers who are both fighting for it, so neither one is going to have that call of, like, it's time for you to hold up everybody else, whereas Mercedes have Benham, you have Red Bull, you have Marcel Kiefer who can do that. And
that'll be a dent.
I was going to say, we got 3 different teams who are going to employ the same tactic.
They could all do that to try and help out their teamemates, but they're also all fighting, 3 of them, for second place in the constructors as well, so it gets a little bit sticky.
And that's where the money is, let's not forget. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think it's more the fact of making the call when maybe one of the second drivers is looking at maybe a point, maybe they're 12th, 13th, 14th, and you go, it is worth us now trying to put all our eggs into the driver that's trying to get the driver's title and deploy those tactics. But it's certainly something that we're going to be keeping an eye out in tonight's show, George, where we go, oh, that driver's not pit yet, but they're in the lead. Oh, they're being caught by the pack. Interestingly, though, I think Brazil is going to be an easier track for them to be dispatched of compared to Suzuka, where you've very much got single file after turn 1 all the way through to pretty much the hairpin in turn 11 at Suzuka. Whereas here, I think there's a few more places that you can definitely outbrake an opponent with worse tyres.
Yeah, I think so. I think especially going into turn 1, you can take the outside line or the inside line. You know, we've seen it countless times. Obviously, whatever happens at turn 2 is another story. But then heading down, you know, Interlagos, again, in towards turn 4, we've seen many moves happen there. The middle sector as well, there's opportunities of hanging the car out wide and making moves. Jun Chao. I think this is what makes Brazil such a great racing circuit. There's just so many opportunities for overtakes. And I tell you what, from what we saw at Suzuka, and I did allude to it in a tweet I put out this morning, I think if we see anything like we did yesterday, I think Brazil's going to be very spicy.
George Morgan TV on Twitter, if anyone was wondering. Lovely little plug there. Love to see that. As I was saying in the shower this morning.
Follow me on Twitter, guys.
Lovely stuff. Alvaro Carreton is out there on track at the moment. Soft tyres, so...
Because you were looking at the screen, Matt, I just thought, Williams versus Alpine, the fight for the wooden spoon in the team championship. That's all I was going to say.
Fighting to not get the wooden spoon, I think.
Well, that's what I mean. They don't want the wooden spoon. As handy as it is in the kitchen, if you put it over the pan while you're boiling pasta, it stops it from frothing over. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But Williams and Alpine, not the seasons they wanted, and Alvaro Carreton has a great opportunity to help the team out to get more money. Let's face it.
Yes, because the only team not to get any money is last position, and then it is divvied out after that. So you don't want to be doing a whole season to not be getting any payout. That's what the F1 teams will be hoping for anyway, is to get something from this series. Here's John Evans. Apparently Hayden Gullis's man for pole. In the Aston Martin there, as you can see, we've had 2 lap times, Carreton and Clay, both in the 107.2s. 17 thousandths of a second separating those two. John Evans, is he going to put a benchmark on the board? He is now driving towards the line, DRS wide open, and it's going to be a 107.4.
Yeah, see, the reason I went for that is because I was told there's a reverse grid race.
That's not true.
So,
let's not spread misinformation. We've got Simon Weigang went fastest, but Danny Beresne has displaced him. That man has got so much confidence at the moment in that Alfa Romeo. Nicolas Longuet, he's looking for 3 wins in a row at Brazil, as we said in the beautiful warm-up to this qualifying session. Sorry for the delay. But Longuet has gone fastest ahead of Beresne, but only separated by 0.02 of a second. Luke Smith, he's going to want to bounce back from yesterday. His teammate shone in qualifying. Luke Smith, not so much, but he's going to have to try and bounce back here in the penultimate round of the season. Where does Smith end up over the line? He goes 3rd fastest. That's a decent lap in the Alpine. That goes ahead of Simon Weigang. And we've still got 11 drivers in the pits, not even bothering, waiting for the track to ramp up a little.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Smith has got a bit of a recovery mission on his hands. He didn't have the best of days yesterday, so he's going to be looking to try and pull it all back. Actually started from the back of the grid in yesterday's affair and actually struggled to land a lap time on the board in the first session. So this is very much going to be a confidence booster, I think, to try and get himself back into the frame of things. But there's Marcel Kiefer. He'll have fond memories of Brazil last year.
Well, speaking of needing a confidence boost, I think Marcel Kiefer is absolutely one of them. Of course, not anywhere near the drivers' title fight, can help Red Bull to try and secure 2nd in the Teams Championship. But Marcel, if he can finish the season strongly, maybe a couple of top 5, top 6 finishes, at least then he can build on that for next year, if he is, of course, there next year. You know, you've got Josh Ido knocking on the door in the sister team at AlphaTauri. But if Marcel can just finish the season strongly and go, look, OK, I figured out what was going wrong, I'm ready for next year, new game, etc., that'll do him a world of good.
Or he's been told, team principal said, Marcel, do you mind parking the bus for the next 2 races?
He might have to. Depends if he's, as kind of my point, probably saying for Marcel in the sense that if he's running in the top 6, Red Bull aren't going to sacrifice him for Freddie, in my opinion. They'll go for 2nd in the championship. But if Marcel has another struggle, Marcel could maybe turn around and go, hey, well, actually, I did it on purpose. Just wanted to help Freddie. I don't think he's going to want that for his own sake, for his own esports career. There he is in the bottom left, fully focused.
He's purple in the first sector as well.
Yeah, he is purple in the first sector. This is where we might see some interesting differences in driver setup as well. Some drivers may well go for a very fast car in a straight line. Maybe Marcel already playing that setup so that he can't be overtaken as easily in the race. Of course, they can change their setup between the quali and the race because the fact is we don't go straight into the Grand Prix. It's later on, 7:30 p.m, hosted by Tom Deacon, the race show. Here comes Marcel Kiefer over the line, and he's going to go third fastest. So, yeah, he was pretty fast in the first sector. I think lost a bit in the middle, but is still a pretty comparatively good lap time for Marcel Kiefer to begin this qualifying session. Here's Brendan Lee in the Ferrari. He's going to want to have a bit more of that USA form that we saw, where we wondered, oh, is he going to win this race from absolutely nowhere? He didn't, but that was the Brendan of old that we love to see. Very tight to the wall to minimise the length to the line, and he goes fourth fastest. What about his teammate, Fabrizio Donoso? Comes over the line. That's going to be a very quick lap time. It's a 1:07.0 for Fabrizio Donoso. A very nice lap indeed.
Yeah, super lap from Donoso coming back to the top end as well. Ferrari engines currently covered in the top 3 at this point. Nicolas Longuet second, Danny Beresnay in third. Alfa Romeo were doing something very similar yesterday. They seem to be a lot stronger in qualifying of late. And they were up at the top end again during the race yesterday too. Another man who was very strong was this man, Sebastian Job, or Job, should I say?
Job. Apparently it's Job.
It is Job.
We've been clarified it's Job. So sorry, Sebastian. We're going to go with Job
Nick
from here in.
Hamilton isn't always right because he was the one who said Job.
He was.
So let's blame Nick Hamilton. He's not here,
Exactly.
is he? So
And didn't he condemn Job as well? He said it was Job.
So now we can say Job has done a good job. That's perfect. You don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
Amazing. Freddie Rasmussen in the Red Bull. A crucial qualifying for him to stay in the championship hunt, and that's a very good way to start his qualifying adventure around Brazil. It's fastest, a 1:07.041. Jarno Opmeer knocked out in Q1 yesterday. He needs to make it out of Q1 today, and P5 will help him on that adventure. Lucas Blakely, he's trying to hold on to that championship lead. P7, it's okay, but I think he's going to be a bit worried about that one. Jake Benham's gone up to P4 in the Mercedes. Josh Edo has gone 6th. Thomas Ronhart, shock horror, goes to the top of the timesheets with a 1:07.035. It's very, very close at the top. We've got 200ths separating the top 5. Just Brazil things. Barry Burriman in the McLaren shadow. They have wrapped up the team's championship, and Barry Burriman, P3 for him. That is a very nice lap time indeed. So, of the championship protagonists, it's Lucas Blakely, who is the slowest currently in Q1, in 11th position. And look, he's 1/10 off the fastest, but that's all you need around Brazil.
I mean, just look how close it is. Half a tenth improvement will put him up to, well, only up to P9 to be fair, because it's so close further up in the grid.
That's not what you were hoping to see, was it?
No, I was hoping he'd shoot up a lot higher. But yeah.
A whole 10th?
A whole 10th. Will take him a long way, up to P4. But it's so competitive. I don't know really who are going to be the drivers to risk it, to stay in the pit lane. I don't think
anyone
Ronhart, Rasmussen.
But Ronhart's not, none of them are clear, are they? Ronhart is 200ths ahead of Jake Benham in 6th. And you've got track evolution, and even evolution of the circuit being 1/10 of a second is going to elevate your 10 positions. So I don't think Ronhart really has the luxury of being able to sit in the pits. What do you think, Tom Deacon?
I don't know. I mean, he's going to have to step it up, I guess. I just don't know if it has been mentioned about Sebastian Job yet. His only podium in the F1 Esports Series Pro Championship came at Brazil last season. So I feel like I'm not going to change my mind on Nicolas Longuet, but maybe Sebastian Job is an outsider to maybe finish on pole.
OK, then. Let's see. You've changed your prediction. Interesting.
Oh, no, I don't know if I was allowed to.
No, you're not. Danny Beresnay, as you can see on a lap time here, fastest in the first sector is the Alfa Romeo driver. And a very much an improvement in form for Beresnay. And he is brimming with confidence at the moment, but that's going to cost him so much time. And that, unfortunately, might well have been the commentator's curse there. He's 13th. He's not going to improve. Is he going to have time to get one more lap in? I think so.
Just about.
Yeah, he's leaving it late. Beresne was going to improve there, I think. But unfortunately for him, 13th, and is going to have to use another set of tyres.
Yeah, not a good way to end that lap. He was purple in the first 2 sectors, so that's going to hurt, certainly Danny Beresne. And he'll need to get back out as soon as possible because we're coming into the final 2.5 minutes. So the pressure's going to be on him. And not only that, when you're leaving it so late, it can certainly play on your mind. And there you can see just a twitch of the wheel again. Just literally didn't have the grip coming out of Junshao. I did mention that being an oversteery part of the track earlier on as well. So you've got to be so careful because it's a vastly different sector. It's like I said, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, different challenges right through, and a shake of the head, just a loss of composure.
Yeah, he knows how important that was.
Add on that. One thing it could be trouble for is Nicolas Longuet, because as he's coming into the pit lane, Nicolas Longuet cannot get out of the pits until Danny Beresne's car is back into his pit box, into his garage. So potentially this could mess up with the timings of the drivers going out. Longuet's still in the pit lane at the moment, so is Danny Beresne. So they're going to be leaving it really late for this last run.
Well, Longuet's on an out lap now, so...
Just got out,
okay.
Just got out of it. But is it enough time?
It should be. 1 minute 36 to go. We've got a 1 minute 7 lap time, so I think they'll be OK. Beresne's on an out lap as well, so I think they're all going to be good. Luke Smith's still in the pits, and actually the top 6 right now have stayed in the pits. No, we've got Donoso coming out. So is Benham risking it? No,
Benham's
he's not.
out.
He's coming out, but we've got 1 minute 20 to go now. So it's the top 4 risking it here. And I would say this is one of the tracks where you don't want to risk it, personally, with the track being at its optimum in the final 1 minute and 7 seconds of this session. And it does very much look like the top 4 are staying in the pits to save a fresh set of tyres for the next 2 parts of qualifying. Here's Marcel Kiefer, 14th at the moment. It's not good enough for the Red Bull driver, for the driver that we expect to be in Q3 most times, who has helped Red Bull to teams championships in the past. But Marcel Kiefer this year, it just has not clicked for him. Apart from Imola, that was a flash of brilliance. Can we see another one now? Marcel Kiefer needs to perform. It's a purple first sector, which has been surpassed by Otmir. And in fact, further back, Lee's gone purple. No, forget that. Longuet's going purple. There's plenty of improvements coming at the end of this Q1 session. So Marcel Kiefer has to put in, I would say, a top 8 time here if he wants to be fully safe. Marcel Kiefer now negotiating these last few corners. This one is pretty much the last corner. You've got to focus on the exit. Don't do a Beresne, don't lose the back end, and it looked pretty clean indeed. Marcel Kiefer, fastest in the middle sector here now. So there's a lot of improvement coming from the Red Bull driver. This is all he can do now, is drive towards the line. It's going to be fastest, a 106.9. That's going to cause some problems maybe for Job and Likes already in the pit lane. Unfortunately for Shanaka Clay, it's only 15th. Jarno Watmir, 10th at the moment, comes over the line, makes it second. That's a great lap from him. Brendan Lee, he goes to, where am I seeing this? I can't actually see that right now. 12th for Nicolas Longuet, who then goes to P1. So he goes fastest as well. Sebastian Job now down to 8th. Simon Weigang, 19th at the moment, and he's gone up to P13. John Evans is out, unfortunately. Danny Beresne, he's 17th at the moment, and he's going to go to P3 with a 106.994. And we've got Brendan Lee out in Q1. We've got Clay and Evans both out as well. Can Luke Smith make his way out? He goes to 15th place, and we wait for Peter Stalkalek, the final driver, to set his lap time in Q1. Can he get out of it? I don't think he did. We'll have a look and see what the graphic says. It's 19th for the Haas driver. So the big talking point there is Brendan Lee, 17th and out in the Ferrari after we were just hyping him up.
Yeah, unfortunately, the commentator's curse for Brendan Lee.
I feel like I should take the black for that. That's on me, guys, and I'll take that, and I will tweet him, and I'll say, listen, sorry, Brendan. However, what I did say, Brendan, you did start, I think it was P16 or P yesterday, and came back to get to 6. It started P17.
Yep.
So actually, if anything, he's just making it more entertaining for us. So fair play, Brendan. Keep it up.
Yes, that's exactly what he was doing. Now let's reflect on your pole prediction, shall we?
Can I change it?
No.
Are we allowed to do that? No.
If your driver goes out, maybe you're allowed.
Yeah.
But I mean, being serious now, I mean, you had these conversations with John Evans yesterday, and he was saying he was confident. And
Yeah.
Put him off,
but this
if
is
anything.
amazing how a driver can feel confident going into qualifying and still be knocked out in Q1. That is just the beauty of this F1 Esports series.
Yeah, but again, it just goes to show how slim those gaps are. You know, it's we've seen it today. Mere hundredths of a second could be the difference between success and failure. Like I say, these drivers are so good at what they do, and there's just mere fractions. I mean, we noticed it, and I said yesterday that Otmir was safe. I assumed in Q1, got knocked out. He was in the bottom 5. So it just goes to show anything can happen.
Absolutely. This is the eliminations from Q1. Weigang, Lee, Clay, Stavlek and Evans.
We should have a different photo. Can I just say, this is for next year, 2023.
Who?
We should have a new photo for the drivers that don't make it through.
Oh, like a sad
to Q.
face.
Yeah, because that just gives you the wrong impression. That's your front row. It's like, no.
Tom Deacon, everybody. There is Brendan Lee, and that is his actual face. And not particularly happy.
Well, the other
I
one was
am
his
sure.
face, Matt. You can't say that. That was his smiley face.
There's Luke Smith. He's relieved. He's happy.
What, but he's out?
He's not out.
He's not out.
Good.
He's
gonna say.
still through, my friend. Yeah.
Woo!
He made it
Sorry.
through.
It was of course Hayden's prediction.
Yes, it was indeed. Q2's underway already.
yeah,
Look
I'll
at
take
that.
that,
Sessions flying through. And there is Jake Benham, who managed to save a set of tyres, which is very good from him, you'd have to say.
He came out at the end.
He did come out at the end. Oh, no, he was one of the top ones to come out. Wasn't
Yeah,
he?
but I
Top
don't know
four.
whether he finished his lap, so he might have,
Slightly
half
fresher
used
tyres or whatever,
tyres.
yeah. But Benham, again, a great performance from him to make it through out of Q1 and showing that he's got some decent consistency considering he is quite new to this championship.
Yeah, I think so. To come to Suzuki yesterday and lay everything on the line and defend for your teammate the way he did, it takes a man with confidence and for such a young contender in this championship to have the nerve to go toe to toe with some of these great established drivers. It takes a lot, and for such a young kid, he's got lots of potential as Jake Benham, and has really risen through the ranks. And I really do believe that Mercedes see a bright future with him at the helm.
Absolutely, and he's on a lap right now, losing the car just ever so slightly on the exit curve. Have to be careful not to get an invalidation through there, and Burremand has in fact invalidated his lap time in the McLaren Shadow car.
The good thing about Jake Benham, if it doesn't work out in F1 Esports, he has proved that he's incredibly good at driving a bus and parking it. So actually there is a career for him around London, actually, where we are at Gfinity Arena, that he's got a stable career. I think salary start about 35k, so just something to think about maybe.
I don't have a clue what to say after that, to be honest with you, apart from the fact that Jake Benham exits the final corner and is heading towards the line. Benham, no purple sectors for him. There's improvements behind. Tom Deacon, we'll come back to you. 107.4 for Jake Benham. And we have Patrick Sheepos, who has gone to the top of the timesheets. No, forget that. We got Fabrizio Donoso in the Ferrari. And I think a few used tyres being used at the start of this Q2 session. Jarno Otmir goes third fastest. Lucas Blakely P2, but the likes of Thomas Ronhart, who was able to save a set of tyres, probably going to be looking to try and save them for Q3, has gone to the top of the timesheets with a 107.2, but remember, we saw a 106.9 at the end of Q1, so these are all going to be those tyres which we saw in Q1.
Yeah, for Ronhart, definitely that is the set of tyres that he did his Q1 lap on. And for him, he's going to go on in the middle stage of this Q2 session. He'll go out again, fresh set of tyres, and hopefully for him, that'll be enough to get through into Q3, and then he can save, because it's such a short track around here that you will get 3 runs in Q3. Japan was a little bit longer. You'd only really get 2 proper flyers there. It's very interesting for the Mercedes season, because look, Otmir and Benham, there's not really too much separating them there, so maybe the problems for them this season could be within the setup. They haven't been able to get the best out of the car, and it just goes to show back at McLaren, that they've been always so consistent, but also at the front. They've got 2 drivers fighting for the championship, but they're always very good. So the people working behind the scenes on the setups have done a great job.
Certainly have. Freddie Rasmussen, his setups have been pretty good this year as well. Hasn't been the same, really, for Marcel Kiefer in terms of utilising what equipment he has underneath him. Freddie Rasmussen is going to come over the line, has invalidated his lap time, but not too many problems for him there, as these are all, as we say, used tyre runs. Danny Berezne, he is also on a used set. 16.8 for the first sector. And he's going to do a 34.0 for the middle. So it's about a tenth off, I think, the fastest that we've seen so far from Ronha. It's nice to get a banker in if you're Ronha, 107.2. It gives you something to build from. Beresne comes over the line. It's a 107.4 as we now take a look at his teammate, Nicholas Longay, who won yesterday, brimming with confidence, and he likes Brazil a lot.
He's a big fan of it. 2 back-to-back poles for him. Today could be the hat-trick. Will he retire at that point? No chance. He'll be back for 2023. Will he be with a new team? Will he be sticking around with Alfa Romeo? I mean, there is a driver that has bounced around. Alpine before that, then was with Renault, and then, of course, before that, he was starting off with Red Bull. But a driver that we know just thrives on confidence, as they all do. But great to see. And in terms of that wooden spoon, which team is going to be bottom of the team championship? Currently, we have Alpine with 2 drivers out there hoping to make it into Q3. And then Alvaro Carreton has it all to do. And I don't think he would be appreciating that pressure on him.
Thing is, Alpine could have been clear after Suzuka. With Chipos in such a great position, and then Williams would probably be receiving the wooden spoon very, very soon. But
an envelope without any money in.
Yeah, so that's going to
That's yours? Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Save that.
Sad, really, isn't it? Yeah, they didn't manage to convert what could have been a really, really good result for them. Patrick Chipos, of course, you know, maybe he'll have something to learn from that because he risked it. He clearly saw his name in lights as he tried to go in between Ronha and Longay. Fair enough. But the gap, the door was always going to close. I think if you take a look at that, of course, the benefit of hindsight is great, but it was quite an audacious move to try, wasn't it, at the start?
Yeah, I think so, and it did hinder him a lot in the opening lap because we saw him cascading down the classification, and it led to what was a disappointing race despite a great qualifying session. But he's proven that it's not dented his confidence. He's in the top 4 in Q2. Obviously, it's still early doors. We've got 8 minutes to go, but again, he's a great talent, and it's amazing. We're seeing the talent in esports grow and grow year on year with new drivers coming in and showing what they can do. The likes of Thomas Ronha and Patrick Chipos and many others that are trying to stamp their authority on already a well-established grid. So, yeah, I mean, be interested to see what he does at Brazil on this occasion.
Yeah, and as you say, with these young, new talents, I love to see that. You know, they're ruffling the feathers of the old guard. I mean, Freddie Rasmussen at Mexico, we've never seen that kind of snap ever.
No.
And to have someone like Ronha on the scene, it is going to start to maybe put a few question marks in the heads of the old guard, as I call it, because they don't want to be losing their seats to these up-and-coming talents or losing races to these other drivers. So it's going to be a fascinating storyline to go into 2023 as well. And yeah, I'm all here for it.
Well, there's going to be more drivers coming through the ranks for next season's competition. So there are going to be drivers that are going to have to look over their shoulders. Like Beresne, we talked about him so much at the start of the season, but now he's got on top of it. He seems to be a little bit closer to his teammate. He's fighting for points once again and establishing himself as like, okay, maybe I should be the one to hold on to this seat. But you always have to be aware, and teams should be looking at that. They should be looking at these younger talents, because at some point you have to change it over. At some point you have to say goodbye to these established, you know, legends of this series that we've had. And unfortunately, the new guys come in.
Certainly. Alvaro Carreton, we've seen him race quite a few events here for the F1 Esports Series. He's on a flying lap. We've got some fresh tyres out there as well, so I feel like we need to go to full... there it is, full screen. Almost immediately. Thank you, production team. We've got Freddie Rasmussen setting the fastest first sector out there. We've got Sebastian Job with the fastest middle at the moment. We're taking a look at Alvaro Carreton in the Williams. It's a 107.3 for him. That's not going to make any headlines. Sebastian Job, the 106.9. That's going to make some headlines for him in the AlphaTauri. A great lap from him. Marcel Kiefer, can he put a decent lap time on the board in Q2? He's going to go second. Just slots in behind Sebastian Job. Fabrizio Donoso now in the Ferrari. He's currently 5th fastest. He's going to need a much quicker lap time, and he does. Great lap from Donoso. 106.8, the first we've seen in the 0.8s. Freddie Rasmussen's been pretty quick on this lap, and he is going to go to the top of the timesheets. But, when I look at this the timing screen right now, I see a Ron Hart, fastest first sector. No surprises there. Jarno Opmeer, he made it out of Q1. He's going to need to make it out of Q2 and potentially get pole position as well. Does he have the pace? Oh, you bet he does. Top of the timesheets in Q2 for Jarno Opmeer, the 2-time champ. Lucas Blakely trying to hold on. Gets P4 for now. Thomas Ronhart, he's going to go fastest again in the hat. Ronhart with a 106.8 flat from him. Jake Benham, he's been very impressive in qualifying, can only manage 9th for now. We've got a couple more drivers to come. Barry Burman, P6 for the McLaren shadow driver. Danny Beresnay, a 107.4. This is his 3rd run in Q2. Can he get out of this session? It's only going to be 11th for Danny Beresnay. It's not going to work for him. Longue hasn't got a lap time yet. And we're going to come over the line for him, and he's going to go 2nd fastest around this Interlagos circuit. So as we look at those times, we've got Benham, Beresnay, Shipos, Smith and Caraton currently in the bottom 5. Pressure, you would absolutely have to say, on Beresnay maybe, considering the form that we thought he was on?
Yeah, definitely big pressure on all of those guys in the bottom 5, and you can tell there's definitely been mistakes on their laps because we saw drivers sneaking into the 0.9s and a lot of them are in the 0.8s right now. So the potential is there, maybe sneaking into the 0.7 at the end of this session and then dropping it further down as we get into Q3. But yeah, for all those guys, definitely a mistake because you look at Luke Smith on a 0.3 as is Alvaro Caraton. There's a lot of time to find on their laps. Luckily though, there's time on the clock that they can go for another run. So yeah.
There is, but then I also want to ask how many sets of tyres do some of these drivers have left? If you're like Beresnay, for example.
Though, you get an extra set, so it's worth pushing. I think, you know, 2 sets of tyres maybe in Q1. Then if you're going all qualifying out, so you'll have another 2 sets of soft tyres available, so you can go for that in Q2. And then if you do get there, you know, you want to push, you want to just sneak in there. If you can go for a fresh set just for 1 run in Q3, then, you know, who knows where you can put yourself. You take it, exactly.
Absolutely. So, yeah, this is the benefit of such a short track. The drivers get quite a lot of attempts here with 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Nicholas Longue very much in the fight for pole position once again. No surprise considering his Brazil record. Are we questioning maybe the Lucas Blakely prediction for pole there, George, or are you still backing it?
I'm going to stick with it. Though I will say, I mean, Ronhart's pace is extraordinary, I would say, at this point. I mean, if you look at the rest of the grid order, there's mere thousandths, but, you know, Ronhart is separating himself from his nearest
by
rival.
A solid 36,000.
Yeah, which is, you know, it's more hundredths, isn't it? So you know, the gap that when you look at gaps like that and you contextualise it that way, it sort of seems that he has got, you know, a clear setup in mind. So, yeah, he's looking very strong.
He certainly is. Ronhart's consistency in qualifying has been something astronomical.
Scary. Scary, I'd say. And I'll say it one more time. Scary.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe you would
elaborate.
Do
yeah,
some,
sure,
some
I can
talking.
do for you, Matt, because that's what I can do for you. I don't know. I mean, every other driver will be working out, wanting to know, maybe even a seminar from Thomas Ronhart. At the end of the year, he could be the driver's champion, and he could be like, look, guys, I can show you how you can do quali for 2023, but it's going to cost you, because that's how night and day he is compared to the other drivers. And that's not to discredit the other drivers, but he just is able to find that extra when he needs it most. And if he can sit back and sit on an extra set of tyres, I mean, the guy's cooking. He's absolutely on fire at the moment.
Isn't he 17 years old as well? Like, to have that relentless consistency and mental capacity to turn up week in, week out, knowing thousands upon thousands of people are judging and watching you at every single turn that you make. To turn up at every race event pretty much this entire season, make it through to Q3, have an average qualifying position of, I imagine, is probably about 2, if not under now, if we do the maths, especially if he takes pole here today as well. That is the absolute hallmarks of a champion.
Yeah, and when you speak to him, he takes it all in his stride. He's just so cool and composed.
Because you had a chat with him, didn't you, yesterday?
I had a chat with him.
A very private,
I've had a few chats
one-to-one with him.
Ronhart. Yeah. No, I mean, he's honestly so clinical, and you know, like I say, when speaking to him, he said, I've never practiced so good. You know, I'm so ready for event 4, and you know, it goes without saying that he's been class of his own all season long, and it's going to take a very special driver to keep him down.
It certainly is. You can tell he's got rid of just that slight bit of nerves he had at the start of the season, and now it's the race as well where he's scary. The race pace that he brought to Suzuka in particular yesterday was clear of the field. He was absolutely dragging along Rasmussen and co behind, Rasmussen didn't really even get a sniff of going past Ronhaar. He was just using him as this steam train to try and catch Longe at the end.
And it was the only thing that we could talk about at the start of the season, as maybe this is something that this driver hasn't got, because he was a little bit nervous on race starts and he lost positions, but he's got that all under his belt now and he's absolutely flying.
Right, moving away from Ronhaar, the session is about to come to a close for Q2 and Marcel Kiefer is on a lap. He's improving. Where does he manage? It's P6 for Marcel Kiefer. That might be good enough. Danny Beresne goes up to P3 on his final set of soft tyres. Beautiful lap from him. Patrick Schipos only manages 10th. That is going to put him under a lot of pressure with drivers improving behind. Who else have we got there? Sebastian Joe, P11 at the moment, goes up to 4th. Marcel Kiefer now drops to 8th. Alvaro Carreton, 15th at the moment, can only manage 12th. Schipos is also out. P11 for him. Freddie Rasmussen goes to the top with a 106.7 as Lucas Blakely, the championship leader, can only manage 6th, but that should be good enough. Luke Smith, 15th for him in the Alpine. Josh Edu, he's been impressive this year and he is going to stay 13th. Barry Burman was 10th. Now makes it 9th. Can Jake Benham drop Marcel Kiefer out of qualifying? He does indeed, up to 9th for Benham. What a great lap from him. And it's going to be Kiefer, Schipos, Carreton, Edo and Smith, the 5 that are going to drop out in Q2. Another Benham masterclass in qualifying to drop Marcel Kiefer out. And is the conversations going to be had at Red Bull already around his tactics for the race?
Well, he does know where the accelerator is, so that is good to know for Benham. He knows when to put the foot down and when to just ease back and make it far more exciting for us. Shame for Patrick Schipos going out and Luke Smith and Alvaro Carreton. That wooden spoon, that's what I'll be watching out for today.
You love that wooden spoon award. One thing I did want to say, Burmand, of course, one of our championship contenders, P10, just scraped through, which is going to be a sigh of relief for him, isn't it?
Yeah, very close, and right on the precipice of being eliminated too. Good for Mercedes, contrasting to what we saw yesterday, because obviously Otmar out in Q1, Benham was out in Q2, both of them now into Q3 at Brazil. So, there's definitely a lot more positivity coming out of the Brackley camp.
And interestingly, Ronhaar saved a set of tyres.
Yep.
This man's going to have a lot of fun in Q3, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got 3 sets of tyres, can completely go for it in Q3. Also, Nicolas Longe was saving some tyres. And Jarno Otmar, he did go out for a final run, but he came back into the pits as he saw and realised that he is going to be safe. He didn't have to complete that lap, so those tyres aren't going to be as used as maybe some of the other guys who went for that final run in Q2.
Absolutely.
I've got an idea, though, with Thomas Ronhaar, like in horse racing, I don't know if you know, to make it a bit more of a fair playing field, they weight...
ballast.
They really weight down the really good horse. So I'm just thinking with Thomas Ronhaar...
Like a handicap.
Yeah, like a slight one just to make it...
They do it in other motor racing series, yeah, they give them weight ballast. But anyway, that's a very strange point. Let's look at Lucas Blakely, shall we? And his reaction... We don't need to have any weighing down for Lucas Blakely because he is trying desperately to cling on to his championship lead, but he's made it through to Q3 again, and you can see the reaction there means a lot to him. He knows that driver's title is absolutely possible. Josh Edu, I mean, that for me is a big shock, and we talk about it a lot, in, out, shake it all about in terms of turning up for races and not. I feel like he needs to be fielded every single race. Marcel Kiefer, we've seen that image so many times this year. It's quite sad. But all the pictures are smiling. And Tom Deacon is not happy about that. He'd rather have sad. Actually, Josh Edu looks a little bit sad in his.
I don't think that's a full smile. I mean, Josh Edu has just got concentration face. Luke Smith, sort of a smile there. Yeah. Sort of there.
Q3 has started. Oh, dearie me. There is Thomas Ronhaar, and he, as I say, is going to have a lot of fun in this final qualifying session. Probably the only driver with as many soft tyre sets to play with. Of course, we did have some improvements right at the end, but that 106.8 he did before the track had evolved completely just shows that he might well have a little bit more in the tank, and he's out there immediately. He's got. Yeah. He needs to use all of his tyres up.
Yeah, exactly. He's got so much time to play with, all these 3 sets of tyres. I think Longe had to use maybe an extra one in Q1 to get through originally, so I think he's going to have 2 fresh sets compared to some of the other drivers out there as well. But yeah, Ronhaar is just going to be lap after lap after lap let's see what he can do.
Right, George Morgan, dulcet tones, let's go.
Here we go. Thomas Ronhart, who we're currently riding on board with, makes his way through the Senna S's, turns 1 and 2, and he'll then make his way down through towards the Retta Posta, heading in towards the city of Interlagos, heading now in towards turn 4. Your brake surely just in between the 100 and the 50, takes on the 50, in fact, just rubs the curb on the inset, on the outset, takes a lot of it, as he now makes his way around through towards the Ferradura, where he'll enter sector 2, and very shortly around in towards the next right. Very tricky this one, almost 90 degrees. He makes his way through now, just again taking all the curve, and then on the outset, you can hang right. Very prime overtaking opportunity. We tend to see it a lot, certainly, where it comes to the F1 Esports game, as now we're seeing the car now make its way through towards the latter sector. He's now got a very tricky corner at Junchao, the 90-degree left as well. Ronhart looking very strong purple, without a doubt, to the first 2 sectors, as you'd expect at the very start of this Q3 session. Around this little kink in the left-hander, going past the Arquibancadas on the right-hand side, the big grandstands full of people here in Brazil, crossing the line. Ronhart, a 106.801. That's not a bad way to start.
1,000th of a second slower than what he managed in Q2. Donoso, unfortunately, invalidated his lap time in the Ferrari. Was looking comparable in the first sector, but I think Donoso running an old set. Jake Benham has gone P2, and that's definitely a used set of soft tyres for Benham. Ronhart has the, as we say, the advantage in terms of the amount of attempts he can have. That is a very strong lap time to put on the board immediately into the session, and I'm sure he's going to build upon that. And as you love a delta, don't you, Hayden? And I think that's a lovely delta to build from, right?
Exactly. It's just beautiful watching Thomas Ronhart on a lap. That car is just stuck to the road. It's on rails around the circuit around here. It's beautiful to see him just tackle these corners.
It looked perfection, didn't it?
Exactly. There's no foot wrong throughout that lap, and we get to see 3 of those now. It's going to be incredible to see. Can anyone beat Thomas Ronhart around here? It's going to be very difficult, but we saw a lot of drivers in the 0.8, so we're going to see, I think, a few drivers into the 0.7s as well. So definitely some of those big names can take him.
Absolutely. Could even see a 0.6, Tom Deacon.
Yeah, I think we will. And I'm going to make that bold prediction. I'm also going to say that even though Nicholas Logger doesn't have as many tyres to choose from, not as many as Thomas Ronhart does, I'm still backing the NL to get the pole position.
Thank you, Tom, for that. Beautiful stuff. Sebastian Jobe, one of the only drivers out on track at the moment. We've got Danny Boresne and Lucas Blakely both joining him on track now on outlaps. Sebastian Jobe's been pretty decent in qualifying this year, it has to be said. And he'll be looking to have another strong performance in that Alpha Tauri car. He's the only driver in Q3, which is quite surprising, I'd say, for Josh Edu fans out there. Was expecting a bit more from him. But that is the nature of Brazil and how closely contested this qualifying session is. One small correction can cost you half a tenth, and half a tenth's nothing for the casual gamer, but that is a lot for these drivers. And Sebastian Jobe now starting his lap time into turn 1 we go, and I think we should go full screen, shouldn't we, and enjoy it? Yeah, we should. Lovely stuff. As we have a look at probably one of the most impressive drivers for me in terms of improvements into this 22 season, and he'll be looking to finish the season strongly to maybe be knocking on the door of a Red Bull seat.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Sebastian Jobe, we talk about his rise to F1 Esports lately, it's been absolutely sensational. Obviously, given the fact that he has competed in so many different sims, and not only that, then claiming getting the job with Red Bull as its simulator driver, such an achievement for a young man, certainly, who takes part in the world of F1 Esports. I mean, we've seen many great former F1 Esports competitors get jobs in the real world of motorsport, Cem Bolek-Bassi being one of them, Igor Fraga, and many others who have competed here on the grandest stage of them all, where it comes to F1 Esports and esports and sim racing, as we're now seeing Sebastian Jobe make his way through the final part of this circuit, looking pretty smart as well in the second sector. Purple is what he managed to land there, goes second fastest in behind Thomas Ronhart, and he actually claimed purple in sector 3 as well.
Yeah, it was a decent lap time considering he had a big correction in the middle part of the lap there, which can cost him maybe up to a tenth. Here's Danny Boresne, managed to make it through to Q3 and manages third fastest for now, but that's a 107.1. Lucas Blakely, the championship leader, pressure on his shoulders. It's a 107.0 for Lucas. That's not going to keep him in third place, I can tell you that for free, as we wait for the rest of the laps to come thick and fast. Jarno Opmeer He needs pole position. He needs a victory tonight if he wants to have that championship come the end of the season. But it's only 5th fastest for him. Freddie Rasmussen, a very quick lap time for him. Purple in the middle sector, and it's going to be fastest for the Red Bull driver, a 106.700, as Nicholas Longay manages 3rd position with a 106.851. Barry Burman, Lucas Blakely's teammate. What role will he play tonight? Will he go for the Drivers' Championship, or will he help his teammate? Barry Burman over the line. It's a very good lap time. It's P2 at the moment, as we now take a look at Thomas Ronhaar. All the sets in the world to go for as many attempts as he wants in that Haas. And how is his lap looking right now? It's an improvement in the first sector. It's purple in the middle. The Haas driver, now all he has to do is minimise the length towards the line. He goes tight to the wall. Thomas Ronhaar currently 3rd. Only 2nd. I say only 5 thousandths between himself and Freddie Rasmussen, but that is a statement of intent from the Red Bull driver.
Very big statement of intent. A 106.7 flat. Extraordinary from Freddie Rasmussen. But again, we know he's quick. We know his pace. And we always say, forever, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. This year could be his year if he can keep this up. But nevertheless, we'll have to see whether he can cope with the onslaught from Thomas Ronhaar, who now pitches himself in 2nd. We've still got 4 minutes to go. There is still time for drivers to enlist one final last chance to dance, one final lap before we then conclude this session at Brazil. But looking at it on paper, I mean, 5 thousandths, Matt, that is the smallest of margins. And then you've got a 500ths gap then to Burman in 3rd.
Yep, and then a gargantuan margin of a 10th. So I'm still expecting some improvements here from the likes of Longay, a Brazil specialist. You got Benham up there in 7th, which is a decent lap time. But these drivers are in the 107.1s. I think there's definitely more time to come. Otmir, 9th at the moment. He needs to be starting on the front row of the grid if he wants any chance of securing this driver's title. So plenty still to play for in the next 3 minutes and 26 seconds.
I'm so happy to see Freddie Rasmussen. I've been really sort of banging the Freddie Rasmussen drum all year, actually, just saying how he's a fantastic driver. And a lot of people...
What show have
I'm going to say,
what show have I been on?
Stupidly been writing him off. I mean, he's there. He's got 130 points in the Drivers' Championship. That's 14 points off Lucas Blakely. We know he's got the raw pace. He's got the mental attitude for it, apart from Mexico, which was kind of like a World War sort of film with a submarine torpedo. But the situation after that was just phenomenal. He has got a real chance today. Do not write Freddie Rasmussen off.
OK, thanks, Tom. Glad to see you've shifted your tone there. But interestingly, you've got Rasmussen and Ronhaar both trying to catch Lucas Blakely. Blakely on the back foot again, it seems, in qualifying. Now, he's not a massive amount off, and he's currently 6th, but if he's starting 6th, we're probably going to see a new championship leader come the end of tonight.
Potentially. I mean, that, in all fairness, has been his weakness this season, apart from the first 3 races. Since then, you're always seeing him around the 6th, 7th position, and that is where he's been struggling most. And unfortunately, you know, Thomas Ronhaar's consistency in qualifying, you know, as you said, probably down into the 1 point something as average qualifying position. You can't be having these 6th or 7th positions, so he needs to work a bit. But looking at the timing screens, anyone I think is on a 107 went on a used set of tyres, so he is going to have a fresh set for this last run. And hopefully for him, he can get up in the mix.
Yeah, it's safe to assume, especially Danny Berezne, I feel like he's had about 12 laps in this qualifying session. So he will have saved his freshest set for the final attempt.
Contentious issue, or just an issue that's well worth bringing up? Lucas Blakely, best runs that he's had, he was at home. He was at home.
Yeah, that's very true.
Didn't have any engineers behind him, didn't have Wilson Hughes, didn't have Barry Burman around him. And with Thomas Ronhaar, you know, there is something to be said about having these incredible setups, these HQs, which Arena Bravo is at, and Steph as well. But goes to show that just when you can just block out all the noise.
Cooking is enough.
Thank you. Amen to that. Block out the noise, and when it gets to these crunch times at the end of a season and the pressure's on and that noise just begins to build, you know, can you block that out? And then, yeah, I think Thomas, I don't know, maybe this is the year for Thomas.
And also, my goodness me, what a storyline we will have if we have Freddie Rasmussen and Thomas Ronhaar on the front row of the grid after what happened in Mexico. Oh, my goodness me, you better tune in tonight at 7:30 as we start the race show then. But we've got 52 seconds plus everyone finishing their laps to go. And Nicholas Longay is going to be one of the first drivers over the line to begin. Berezne a bit further ahead, his teammate improving on the road, but no purple sectors so far. Longay, the Brazilian specialist, it has to be said around here. He is He's won 2 in a row. Can he make it 3? He'll have to start probably in the top 4 if he wants to have a chance of that. But Longuet, of course, winning yesterday. He's 71,000, as you can see in the top right-hand side of your screen, up on his previous lap time, which will pop him into the 0.7s already. Can he find any more improvements over this middle and last sector? Up the hill he goes, then hard on the brakes, and you want to try and cut the corner as much as you possibly can, but don't go over that white line because you'll get invalidated. Nicolas Longuet is putting everything on the line here. He's got nothing to lose. He's got no pressure on his shoulders. He's ready to pick up the pieces of all the championship contenders around him. What's his middle sector going to be saying? As we have Danny Beresne's improved to P3. That's a great lap from Beresne. 106.734. We've got a purple middle sector for Blakely out there. Nicolas Longuet also improving, not too far behind. Here we go then. The end of this Q3 session, the penultimate round of the season, and Longuet only manages 4th fastest. What about Blakely? To the top of the timesheets for Lucas Blakely, the championship leader, throws down the gauntlet. What about Freddie Rasmussen? Can only manage P2, no improvements for him. Donoso goes to the front of the field on the front row, but Thomas Ronhaar cannot displace Blakely, but manages P2. Barry Burraman, P3 for him. It is Lucas Blakely, unless Jake Benham can produce something special here. It's an improvement in the first. It's a steady middle sector for Benham. He comes over the line, and I think that was 8th place for Benham. But it's Lucas Blakely on pole position.
The Oracle has spoken.
This is Blakely's time, John, not you.
Can I just say, matching, I tell you what, I feel like I'm watching, if you guys remember, Frentzen, Villeneuve, matching
times.
Matching times.
It's exactly the same time.
106.674. It actually registered Ron Har was purple in 2nd place, but I mean, they're literally matching toe for toe. But Blakely obviously taking the 1st place position.
Before these times run away from me on this screen, a 0.674 for Blakely, a 0.674 for Ronhaar, a 0.679 for Burraman, a 0.689 for Donoso. This quali show is mad.
2 purple sectors as well, 1st sector and 2nd sector for Thomas Ronhaar, getting those. So how does it work then?
It's whatever set first. Yes. So Blakely came over the line first, set that time. Ronhaar was too late. He could have been 1,000th quicker, but he wasn't.
And he had all those tyres to choose from, just dilly-dallying.
Lucas Blakely only needed one. Only needed one set of tyres.
I cannot stress enough. I mean, fair play to your prediction. Brilliant stuff. I must have jinxed Ron Har. He did the pole time, but won't start.
Technically he is pole.
We're both right.
Yeah, we're both right.
But that
just going to show with the brains of the outfit.
I'm not going to make any claims about that. But Blakely, this is such a huge performance from him. He has been on the back foot. We said that. He didn't look that quick. But what a lap time to pull out at the penultimate round of the season.
Yeah, he clearly heard us talking. He was like, boys, watch this. And just absolutely went for that. I would love to watch that lap back, looking and waiting for everybody to cross the line to see if he has scored it. And there we go, the celebration. And that is exactly what he needs, because his championship rival has been so consistent on the front. And Ron Har knows, if anybody else took that pole position, he would still be happy. But because it is his closest championship rival, he has lost out. So he needs to have the perfect start, perfect strategy, or who knows, if there's going to be some rain later in the mix.
Oh, yes, please.
Change things there. Freddie Rasmussen, I mean, there's going to be no expression on his face at all. And he's probably going to take that camera away after he's done as well. And he's just like, yeah, there you go.
The thing is, right,
done.
he starts 5th. He starts 5th on the grid. He's 0.04 of a second off pole position. Look at those times. Not even 400, 200ths of a second. Freddie Rasmussen off pole, but starts 5th. That is the most outrageous qualifying I have ever seen in F1 Esports history. And we've seen some crazy qualifyings, but I don't think we've ever seen the same time for pole position. As you can probably tell, everyone here in the studio is absolutely buzzing after that. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. What an unbelievable qualifying. Right, promo for tonight's show, 7:30 p.m. Do not miss it. Blakely, the championship leader, starts from pole position, but he's got Ronhaar, Burraman, Donoso and Rasmussen behind. Before we go, what do you make of that?
Amazing. Absolutely incredible. 5,000 separating the top 3. I think it was like 15,000 to the top 4. These guys are going to be so close, so competitive, and there's a lot on the line between 5 drivers who are still in contention for this championship. Jarno Opmeer, he's got a lot to do. He's on the back end of that P9, out-qualified again by his teammate Jake Benham. But if there's anybody who can come back through the field, it is Jarno Opmeer, and who knows, maybe some more team tactics at play.
Well, there's going to be plenty of stuff going on. I think Opmeer, as you say, a lot of work to do. I don't think that's where the focus is going to be. It's going to be back to Blakely now. You know, Ronhal's been on such a ferocious run through the field and picking up points, but what a moment for Blakely.
Oh, what a moment indeed. Championship leader starts on pole, as you said, Matt. It's just truly magical, that is magical. That's why we love this, and I cannot wait. Like, can we just start it now? Just start the race now. Let's see what happens. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, well, we can't. It's 7:30. You're hosting the show, so I hope...
I better get dinner, actually, before.
Yeah, you probably should. And, George, what are your final thoughts after that?
Hey, look, I think the opening lap's going to be a corker. I cannot wait. Like Tom, I want to get started. But yeah, I mean, looking at the top three, 0.005 of a second between the top three. Both McLarens in it. They're going to be chuffed.
Who's going to win?
I'm going with Blakely.
Who's going to win?
Thomas Ronhal.
Who's going to win?
Not John Evans. That's what we're going to say.
And I'm not going to say any predictions. Thank you so much for watching this quali show. 7:30 p.m. Be there. It's going to be a corker.